everyone. This is TJ Mayben from Sticks and Spirits Cigar Club. In this video, we're going to talk about Steve Saka from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust's new fun item, the 5-cigar pack-up of STFU. This was brought about because Steve got tired of people asking him if the Brulee was sweetened, which, of course, he says it's not. It's part of the inherent wrapper sweetness. So what he did was he created this sampler of 5 identical cigars, but in the mix, at least one of them is sweetened, another one is double sweetened, but he doesn't tell you which one. So you're going to have to go through these, if you're lucky enough to get this sampler, go through each of these cigars and try to determine which is the original, which is sweet, and which is double sweet. At the end of that, you need to submit a photo of yourself with the sampler and your choices on which cigar is which. At the end of that, he'll choose a winner at the beginning of October that will receive up to $1,000 of Dunbarton items. That's a crazy good price. So I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to put their hands on this sampler and give it a shot. So that's what we're going to do over the next week or so. I'll be going through each one of these, writing down my thoughts, and at the end of it, I should be able to say, you know, what my beliefs are as to what, you know, which ones are sweet, double sweet, or the original. I have no doubt in my mind, regardless, that I'm going to enjoy what Saka's put in this, even if it's the double sweet. That burns off or wears off. So I know that inside each one of these cigars is a Brulee, and the Brulee in and of itself is a fantastic cigar. So follow along with me as I go through the STFU, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, and we'll see what works out by the time we get to the end. All right, here we go. So I've decided I'm going to go in order with this. So the very first stick, of course, in the STFU, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, is the S. I've given it a nice V cut to try and preserve as much of the cap as possible. Just in case this is one of the sweetened ones, I wanted to get as much of the cap as possible involved in the initial cold draw and cold taste. So first cold taste. There is an inherent sweetness in the outer wrapper, but I don't believe this one's been dipped. It is sweet, but it's slight. So I'm going to say not sweet at this point. If I smoke a different cigar in this batch that is less sweet than this, I'll have to revise. But for right now, this is what I'm dealing with. Beautiful smell along the barrel. Of course, this is a great cigar, as I mentioned before. Even if you're not taking part in this sampler challenge, I encourage you to try the Brulee series. They are an amazing cigar. So we're going to go ahead and light this up, and we'll see what we come up with. Here we go. Again, picking up an inherent sweetness in the tobacco. It is distinctive, but it's not overpowering. This is not something where you go, oh my God, that's too sweet. No, it's just got a little bit, it's on your tongue, you can feel it, you can taste it. But again, right now, not picking up on it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with this, and I'll get back to you in the second third. So I'm a little ways into the first third. I have read reviews on this cigar that basically said that touch-ups were needed. The burn line, slight wave. No touch-up needed in the first third, even though some people say it needs one. Not bad at all. Got a nice dark burn line. Doing pretty well with this. It's not a strong cigar. This, the Brulee is a little less than medium, mild to medium. And I'm picking up a lot of, not at first, but it picks up. You start getting this nuttiness, some creamy sweetness. There's some other stuff there, almost floral. But realistically, it's a very, very flavorful cigar. You don't get a lot of it off of the barrel when you're doing the initial sniff test, as you will. The draw on this, just about perfect for me. It's slightly restricted, but not to the point. I like having a little bit of, you know, not like I have to put a lot of effort into it, but I want a little bit of resistance on the draw. I don't want to feel like I'm trying to smoke a toilet paper tube, for crying out loud. I want something with a little bit of resistance, and this has just the right amount. Good smoke production. And again, those flavors I was talking about. More to follow. Just a real quick aside here, I wanted to mention the ash. The ash here is it's not a white ash. It's a light gray ash. It's hanging on real well. This is I'm about 1.25 inches into this thing. No signs of falling off anytime soon. Very well constructed cigar. The wrapper is just gorgeous. Very little veins, practically seamless. Beautiful stick, beautiful stick. But anyway, moving into the second third. Okay, so here we are in the second third of the Brulee, and the ash did fall and exposed a slightly off-center burn cone, but actually the cigar construction is still pretty much on. The burn line, no touch-ups required. Burn line looks great, it's burning great, smoke production is awesome. Still got the nuttiness, is still there. There is still a sweetness, nuttiness primarily. But I don't dislike that. It's an amazing cigar again. But again, this is it's burning really well. And just rest assured, I'm not going to do this with all 5 cigars as I run through this package. Once I got into the Brulee, I just wanted to talk about it through the thirds. And then as I get into the other 4 cigars, I'm pretty much only going to really quickly say, okay, I'm picking up sweetness or I'm not picking up sweetness. Again, I don't believe that this one was dipped, certainly not double dipped. It's just an inherently sweet cigar. And that sweetness is, again, not overpowering. It's there. But again, primarily some nuts. At the beginning, there was some leather. There's some other stuff in there too, as I mentioned, a little bit of a floral. But right now, primarily nuttiness. It's got a little bit of a, not sure what the word is I want to use here, which is surprising me. I'm just going to take that ash off. Yeah, well, let's stick with the nuttiness with a little bit of sweetness in the backdrop. There's some other flavors there, but I wish I had a more differentiating palate to where I could sit there and tell you, oh, I'm picking up dillweed or something. But I'm just telling you, there's other flavors there, but primarily still nuttiness, a little sweetness in the background, and some floral. Okay, so here we are. We're in the final third, firmly into it. The burn did become a little bit wavy there. Not going to touch it up. I'm close enough to the end of the cigar that I'm going to go ahead and continue on. So what I'm finding is still getting the nuttiness, a little bit rougher around the edges, I guess, but still very nutty. Strength has moved down from mild medium down to mild. Again, guys, this is a tremendous cigar. I really like the Brulee. I like the nuttiness. I like the fruity, almost fruity floral sweetness that's riding behind the nuttiness throughout the cigar. And again, for the S and the STFU, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, pack, I don't believe this one has been dipped. I think I would recognize it pretty quickly. It wasn't there. So for right now, until I'm proven otherwise, I'm going to say this cigar is the original Brulee. Looking forward to burning through the rest of them. I just don't want to rush it. So I will have more for you on the other 4 sticks shortly, and we'll see what develops. So here we go with the second in the series. This is, of course, the T. Same great flavor as the first Brulee. Again, just dipped, and it's coming off pretty quickly. I don't think it's going to stay there for very long. So I declare the T as at least dipped once. Okay, I'm back. This is the F of the STFU, exclamation point, exclamation, exclamation point challenge. This is the third cigar that I've tried of the Brulees. As I said in the earlier portions of the video, I felt the S was not sweetened. The only sweetness there was the inherent sweetness in the outer wrapper. The T was definitely sweet. Whether it was double dipped or single, I'm saying single, but we're going to have to see if I run into a cigar that falls in between the S and the T or beyond the T to determine whether that's single or double. And I'll know before we get done with them, by the time we get done with all these. So here we go with the little bit of a dry tasting, little cold draw. That's a tough call. I want to say this is also single dipped. I think this is about as sweet as the T. If anything, it's just a little bit below that, but this is staying on my lips. So I do know it's been dipped. I'm not just getting it while I'm on the wrapper. This is definitely coming off of the wrapper and sticking on there. So we're going to go ahead. I gave it the same V cut that I did with the other two. And I'm going to go ahead and toast this thing up. And we'll see what the draw and see if it's all consistent. I have no doubt in my mind that it will be. It's been a tremendous cigar so far. And we'll see what happens. There we go. That is an excellent draw. Great tasting cigar. Lights well, burns well, all good stuff. Can't say enough good stuff about it. Yeah, just a little bit of sweetness when I first got that cold draw, and even a little bit now. But again, I don't believe it's double dipped. If anything, the tea might be slightly sweeter. So we're going to see what happens as I move off down the line. So I wanted to take a second and talk a little bit about construction again. This is a very well constructed cigar, as I mentioned before. The wrapper is beautiful, pretty much seamless. And I wanted to point this out. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, how well constructed and how centered that burn cone is when the ash finally did drop off at about almost 1.5 inches. It finally fell. I was sad to see it go. I just showed you guys the burn cone. That is the tip of the burn cone that I showed you just a moment ago. I'm not even trying for a long ash contest or anything. This thing has been holding on. I'm going to turn it sideways. You're going to see if it's going to fall. And it does not. I'm up and down. It's still there. It is hanging on. This is easily a 2-inch ash after the initial 1.5 inches fell off. So if you had any questions about construction on the long fillers on this thing is a rock. It is holding on like crazy. I know if I rest it in the ashtray, there's a good chance it's going to fall off. I'm reluctant to put it down, but this to me is just amazing. It did fall off pretty much right after I said something. But we're going to finish this up, and I'll come back to you with the U, and we'll see how that one fares as far as the sweetness scale, and we'll get through that. We'll get through the next one, and then I'll let you know the overall results. Okay, I'm back with the U of the STFU challenge. Again, a regular V cut to maintain as much of the cap as I can for the cold draw and cold taste. Again, this is very much like the S. I'm not picking up any extraneous sweetness, anything that's coating my lips after I pull the cigar away. I think this is just the inherent sweetness of the wrapper. I don't believe this one's been dipped. So So far, we have the S, which was not dipped. I believe I said the T and the F were both dipped, and the U is not. So I need to differentiate between the S and the F, or excuse me, the T and the F, to determine if one was sweeter than the other, and I'll have to think about that a bit. And there's also the exclamation point end of the rotation, which may prove to be the double dip cigar. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this, and I'll be back with the exclamation point after this. Well, we made it. We got through the S, the T, the F, the U. Only thing left, exclamation point. So gave it the same V cut as the other four. Getting ready to do a cold draw and cold taste, and we'll see what the deal is with the sweetness on this one. Man, I got to tell you, it's really hard to tell. I think with the T and the U, I know I felt it there. This one I gotten down to the very end, and I'm expecting the sweet that I even got on the S and the or excuse me, the T and the F were the sweet ones. S and the U, no. And I think that Steve Saka was nice enough not to sweeten a third one. So yeah, I think this one's not sweet. I think this one is still the wrapper. It just does stay with your lips just a tiny bit, but not a ton, not a ton. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire this up and get through it. I'm expecting the same great flavors I had before on the other sticks. It's been an interesting journey, you know, from the beginning to the end, and trying to figure it out, while at the same time, once I was done with that, being able to kick back and really enjoy this smoke over and over again. I can't say enough good things about the Brulee. I like it, obviously. I've mentioned it before. So I'm going to go ahead and light it up. And when I get to the done with the cigar, at some point here, I'll tabulate everything and finally make up my mind, and I'll put a cap on this thing. And I suddenly realized that throughout all the discussion on construction and smoke production and burn cones and everything else, I neglected to talk about the blend of the cigar. So very briefly, just really quick, the wrapper on this is an Ecuadorian Connecticut. The binder is a Mexican San Andres Negro, and the filler is Nicaraguan. Okay, so we made it to the end. We made it through all 5 cigars, and basically what I came up with was the S was not sweetened. I believe the T was the double dipped. The F is the single dip, and the U and the exclamation point, I believe, were not dipped. So I could be wrong. Feel free to comment below if you think I am. I've seen other people who have done reviews that slightly different from mine, but I don't believe that Steve Saka would dip more than 2 out of the 5 cigars to make a point. So anyway, that's what I came out with. Thanks for sticking with me for this lengthy video. It went a little longer than I expected it to. And if you're interested in learning more about Sticks and Spirits Cigar Club, the URL for our website and for our Facebook page will be at the end of this video. Thanks a lot for tuning in.